Okay, I'd like to open the, Jesus. I'd like to call a water meeting to order. Present, Dave Meswar, Commissioner. John Kane.
Oh, present.
Present. Randy Brown,
Here.
DPW. Christy, Maya, you're here?
Yep.
Is Kevin there? I can't see him.
Present, yes, sir.
Yes, there's a little bit of
Our,
technical
our,
difficulties.
our owl is not working, so we're using the computers for our video.
All right. Okay. Do we have any public comment? Okay, moving on. Review of the water minutes, the water commissioners minutes. Have you reviewed the minutes, John?
Yes, I have. So,
You have a motion?
It's from May 5th, 2022.
Okay, I second. All in favor?
John Kane, aye.
Dave Meswar, aye. Okay. Signing of the elderly rate applications. Do we have any?
Yes, they're in your packet.
Okay.
Or they were in the packet.
What the heck are they?
John will have to read them out. They meet all the criteria.
They at the end?
The address,
Yeah, just read that.
20 Bugby Road, 21 211 Grove Street, 9 Evergreen Street, and 132 Point Grove Road. They all meet the requirements.
I second. All in favor?
John Kane, aye.
Dave Meswar, aye. Okay. Scroll back. All right. DPW Director's Report.
I'll be quick here. A couple things. First item is the water main transmission main improvements project with Moraes Construction or Moraes Concrete. That project is pretty much wrapped up. We now have the pipeline and Jerry Joy pump station are in full service. Overall, I think job went very well. Moraes did a nice job. A couple things early on in the project, but we worked through it, and it was a nice job at the end of the day. Item 2 is we took routine samples for the disinfection byproducts on May 10th at most sample locations. We have not got those results back yet, but they should be released, I'm assuming, within the next week to 10 days. This is the haloacetic acid samples that we took in the first quarter that were a violation, and results were so high in the last couple of quarters, we've already violated this quarter before even taking a sample. So once the results are in hand, we'll have to send out another public notification with the HA5 violation, similar to what we did the last time. So Chris and I have been working with some vendors. It'll be the same information posted in the notice, just a little different formatting, that's all. So I'm hoping that that'll be sent out by the end of the month. Item 3, stream flow levels in the Westwood River. So as you know, our water withdrawal permit requires water use restrictions if the stream flow gets below a certain threshold for 3 consecutive days. I think it's 501 cubic feet per second. So Christy and I have been monitoring the stream flows. We have not triggered 3 days in a row yet, but we came very close to at the beginning of this week. So it's probably a matter of time, I would imagine, unless if we this rain stays and keeps up the water levels in the river.
Hello. I did.
So we're keeping an eye on that. That may or may not happen at some point, but like I said, we're keeping an eye on that. Item 4, water bills were issued and they were due yesterday. Item 5, the consumer conference report is now complete. There's a copy of it in the packet, it's 2-3 pages down. And we'll be posting that around town in the newspaper within the next week or 2. Item 6, this is a follow-up from our last meeting, really no update. We're still waiting for a Mass DEP to update our water withdrawal permit. We really had no, I reached out to them a few weeks ago asking for an update and I got no response. Really haven't had any news from them since late 2021. So I'll keep following up on them, but our permit's really not a priority, I guess. At this point. Item 7, 55 Sam West Road. This has been a carryover for probably 6 months now. No updates on that water service. That has to happen. That has to be replaced before we can reestablish that connection. And then item 8 is Emil continues his backflow inspections. He said he'll have all of his samples done by the end of, by the middle of June that are due for the first half. That's all I have in my report.
Okay, thank you. We can go to the 6:15 meeting, appointment. If somebody's here, they're here. Okay, and that's for Feeding Hills Road abatement.
Correct.
Get down to that. Okay, you have the floor.
So Dave Mesewer is on Zoom, and this is John Kane, the commissioner. We're missing one commissioner.
Oh.
So the floor is yours.
All right, yeah, we had a water leak for possibly going on about 3 years now. And that we went back from when the guy stopped by, told us there was a water leak about 2 or 3 weeks ago. That was the situation. We went to the records, me and you, and we deciphered that it went back almost 3 years. There was a notice about a year ago, but that was for another water line that broke. And I haven't seen any notices for the other one that broke. And it's just such a substantial amount that we'd like to see if we get the payment for it.
Last year, what happened was when I was watering the stand, I fell into like a little sinkhole. I said, oh, something's going on here. So we ended up digging up the display area where the flowers were growing and found the water leak there. And then during the summertime, we got the notice saying that we were using too much water, that the water bill was up and everything else too. So I called, I think I talked to Robin. First, I called somebody and told them, I said, we found the leak and we fixed it. And we don't know how long it had been leaking, so we thought that that was where the water, all the water was coming from. So we fixed it, buried it up, and just went about our business.
So this water leak, like I said, it's been going on for a while. It never came up anywhere. I haven't been able to find where it was. And we went back, like I said, we went back in the records and it's been leaking almost 100 gallons an hour for a year, and then 200 gallons an hour for another year. And now it's up to like almost 400 gallons an hour. So we almost 1 million gallons in years.
We didn't use it. We just
Yeah,
found
and
it.
it just
We
found
never
that.
used it.
Yeah, I just fixed it 2 days ago.
You think you did? You checked
No, I
the
fixed it.
records again?
I fixed it. Yeah.
See what's going through? There's no way we had any way of knowing, and the only notice we got was during the summertime, but I'm doing to a farm bureau meeting, we're talking to everybody else, and the other farmers all in town got it too. And that's, like I said, when I got that notice, I called and said that, we didn't know anybody had an issue. That was the answer to it all. And then like March or something, and just spoke to one of the girls in the yard and just said, are you using a lot of water? And they said, yeah, we are, because we're watering. But nobody specified what we were using, how much we were using, anything like that either.
Well, the biggest thing is it never went down to 0 here. So I mean, I don't know. I figured out with we've been using water 24 hours a day, 7 days a week
For
the
records.
for the records
I'm with that.
for 3 years straight.
So that's actually probably part of the problem is that it never saw a leak. It just saw that you were just using water.
But shouldn't it have triggered it when it first started leaking 24 hours a day?
Especially like Thanksgiving and Christmas Day. I mean, after looking at.
Those are the days.
looking at-
Those are the
looking
days
at
it should have been
everything
complete.
we picked up from you.
It's a progressive, I mean, it's getting
Yeah,
Worse.
it's getting worse.
What was the leak?
But nobody,
It was a broken
It's
inch and a
never
half
brought to our
poly line. It's only about 150 feet long and it's underneath the concrete floor. But it goes, it's underneath in the greenhouse, there's a roadway, that's pavement.
Yeah.
And then it goes into gravel for about 200 feet. And then it goes into a greenhouse, another greenhouse, another one. And I mean, there's a culvert probably 1,500 feet away. I mean, I can't imagine it funneled its way to the culvert and started leaking in there, but it never popped up anywhere.
So there have been notices sent, back in 2018, we sent notices. We have a record of
I
12
I don't know what
notices.
notices you're talking about, because I've never received
It would have
notices.
looked like the blue, it's like this. It's a
Never,
blue
Never
card.
seen a
Honest to
single
God.
one.
There's nothing in
Never
our
have
record.
ever seen a single one of those.
So
What's that address?
we send whatever the water bill goes to. We have, I mean, we keep records of when we send it bill, and we have basically 3 times every year since 2018. The notice.
I swear, I've never seen a blue notice.
The letter you're talking about, probably this letter right here, dated February 11th, 2011. Talking about the high water use.
2021, yes.
2021, that looks familiar.
Yeah, that's the one, that's the only one I've ever received. I've never seen a blue notice ever.
Yeah, I don't tell you, I mean.
And I
we-
get,
we
and I
do
get the
send them-
bills at my house and the bills get open. I have never seen a blue notice.
So-
That's why when, you told Mike that we constantly got notices, I said, I've never received a notice, but the only one that I ever got was the one in 2021. So I don't know where it went or if they, I don't know what happened. to
When
them.
did the notices start, you said?
7/2/2018 was the first
Which is
notice, which was
Okay, the
10
issue started.
10 gallons an hour, and then 2019, it was 120 gallons an hour.
So you notified us for 10 gallons an hour though?
That's what we did. 10 gallons an hour. And we don't know your usage or what,
Yeah.
how you operate your system. For all I know, you're using water for irrigation 24/7.
No, I get that.
Okay, drip irrigation. We don't know.
Yeah.
We just look at our system and it looks like, yeah, looks like a potential for a leak like that, and we can send
Yeah,
cars.
but now is it my word against yours that we got the blue notices? Because
It's impossible
I-
for 3 years, there were no notices delivered.
I've
When's the
never,
last time it was sent?
4/15/21.
I never, ever got one. And you send them in the mail?
Yes, little postcard. We
Never
do
got
it
one.
all the time.
I never got one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm confident they went out.
I mean, because I'm confident I never got
Guys,
one. Because I
I've been
would've-
doing the books for a year now for them, not a single one.
Yeah, the last card was a year ago. Usually we send 3 a year. So we sent 3 of them in March 3rd, March 25th, and 4/15/2021. And that was, and then this year we did the bills again, and that's when Kevin stopped by the shop and talked to somebody.
I have never got blue notice.
So if you stop
ever.
by that time, we didn't stop by the other times.
I mean, it's more of a courtesy for him to stop us.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, because
Just-
that's the
I'm
only
looking
way,
at
that's
the-
the only way that we were alerted to
So-
look into this issue was because somebody stopped me for that, because I've never received a blue card.
So another thing too is I don't think the leak's been fixed. Records as of today.
I just fixed it yesterday, last week.
It's like 2 days
Yes,
ago.
no, one day, like yesterday.
Chris, you can pull it up and show where it's at as of the last record.
Because we're using the water, that water line is actually green, our hothouse tomatoes, cucumbers, and peppers right now, the line that was leaking. So I switched the valve, I shut that valve off and activated the new one. The new one had a leak, so it went back to that one. Now I just fixed the leak on the new one. I'm gonna switch it back over now. But I've been switching it back and forth as I was putting the new one on, so now from all day tomorrow, that leak will be fixed. And you won't see any water usage leaking on
And
that
then
line.
dissipated.
So it's
But-
not quite fixed.
Well, it is now, as of this moment, it is, but I just haven't, I switched it, I haven't switched it back. Shut that valve off and turn the new one on,
So
you know what I
we
mean?
check it out tomorrow.
because the line I fixed, like I said, the new one I put in had a leak in it, so I shut that one off. Then I turned the one that was leaking back on, just until I fixed the leak.
It's gonna show usage as they're using.
well, that's the
It's not
problem.
zero.
Yeah.
So you're never not using water.
Well, we're not using water from 10 o'clock at night till about 5 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
It should be zero usage.
So we should see that.
You should start seeing that now.
we've seen that last time.
No, because I had the other line on, because the one I put on was leaking. But you'll see
I
it,
think we're gonna wait.
you'll see it tonight, you'll see it tonight.
So tonight, overnight,
There should be no water usage from 10 o'clock till
So
5
we
o'clock.
get the data coming every 4 hours, so it's a little
Okay.
bit lag time. So,
But you will see it tonight, then it should be from, like I said, about 10 o'clock, 9 to 10 o'clock at night, until about 6 o'clock, 5, 6 in the morning, so. Should be down to 0 usage. I mean, even 10 gallons, just for like the biscuit.
yeah, I'm, like I said, I'm confident these notices sent out. I mean, we're not trying to hide anything, like.
Oh, I'm not,
I'm
but the
I'm not
thing
saying
is,
you
I'm
are,
not
I'm just.
lying either. I have never, ever seen a blue card or an envelope come in with any notifications in it whatsoever.
So 2 weeks ago, we had another abatement request that came in, and they were not sent notices. And we were upfront about it. We said, yeah, we did send notices. But I'm saying, I'm telling you today that I'm positive these notices.
We never received them.
Did you, did you do anything at the end of, between April and May? With the water system at all? Like, any repairs, any reduction in usage, increase?
No,
Because on the usage graph, it drops drastically, almost like you shut something off.
That's probably.
Oh,
May
we did
1st.
shut off when
Oh, just.
we were
May.
investigating it.
Well, May
So it's only
this
half a
year.
month. Okay.
That's just, yeah, this year.
It's only a
Okay.
So half a month.
This has a date since on it.
Big data on the very top.
Oh, yeah, 5/17. Yeah.
So What's interesting about it is that it's a progressively increasing.
and that's the thing, it should have been like, spring, summer, fall, and then winter, it should have went down and then back up again, and it just never did. It just kept going like progressively worse and worse.
We're really not, we don't use the greenhouse except December and January.
Thanksgiving till Easter, that water usage should be about 100 gallons a day at the most.
Finish up with the months at the end of October.
But I mean,
We wouldn't know that. We don't know how you operate.
Well, no, I
We don't
get
know.
that,
We
yeah.
just see the water usage and we figure you're doing something, we don't, we're not Big Brother watching over how you
Yeah.
run your system.
But it was just like, it's just weird that it, like I said, it never hit 0 in 3 years.
And clearly,
They're a
no
business
one
in
knew
town.
there was a leak, because we certainly don't want to be paying an $8,000 plus bill every half year. If there's a leak, it would have been taken care of. When,
And that, those blue cards would have indicated that we investigated.
There, yeah, I don't, you probably, Christie, but there. Notice that you got in February, I mean, also indicated high usage. Right? This gave you your summer usage between 2018, 2019.
Yeah, that's the one that came right
You can
after
see it
somebody
almost.
stopped in the yard.
You
That
can
came
see
right after somebody stopped in the yard.
Yeah, almost doubles.
You can see it almost doubles in
Yeah.
those 2 years, so.
I'm looking, we wouldn't even know where to start.
what's confusing me is just the increase, like the leaks, like you're, like you have.
Like it's
getting
bigger,
and
yeah.
then another
Right.
leak. But that's, I mean, that's not how they would.
That's what I don't understand. I don't understand what's been going on with it either, because like I said, the only reason I haven't actually dug the whole thing up and found the actual leak is because it's buried underneath the greenhouse right now, and we're using the greenhouse it's in the store right
Do you
now
have-
where the leak goes.
Do you have water coming out anywhere? That's-
Nowhere.
Water isn't normally.
As I
coming out?
said, when I found it last year, back in
The one leak, yeah, the
April,
one
it's
leak we
because I
had,
fell into the sinkhole.
all
That's how I found
all the
out.
benches caved in. You know, I mean, it was probably like a 10 by 12-foot circle and everything just fell into it. And I dug it all up and I repaired it, put the line back together, and that was one of the notices or whatever that they sent. That we saw that, and I mean, that was within a month. And then we fixed that.
When was that?
That was probably the
April-
same
it was
time.
Before Mother's Day.
Yeah, it
It
was
was April into May.
last year.
Or May.
21?
April 21.
See, from
So we
April to
just-
May, it actually got worse,
That's
That's
where that's when we found the sinkhole.
And then I fixed it.
but it stayed constant after that, like.
But then we would have had more water use because we had all the greenhouses going at that time.
Exactly, but it keeps going until December, the same you know, so you had what we thought was a leak in April, but then when you fixed it, the usage went up, and, you know, concurrent with your usage of the water,
Are the
but
months,
it never
are the months
comes
loaded on this line
back
too?
down.
Oh, it's different line.
And really from
So there must be another
May
leak
of
somewhere
last
else
year.
other than there then, right?
from May of last year until February of this year, it's been constant within 10,000 gallons a month. And then we get back in the growing season this year and you jump up. So there's either
Well, the
the
thing,
leak that you thought you fixed, that you said wasn't the leak that you had just recently fixed. So that's, I think we need to wait to see what the usage is.
what I did was with the meter, it's got like a little plus sign that flashes.
Yeah.
When you use it.
When it's
Well, I started way back in the last one, way out in the back, and I shut those off one by one, and I kept following them. And till I got to the one line that we're talking about, I shut that valve off. Everything was still blinking, even, you know, as I shut all the valves off one by one, I kept checking it. The one valve that it only runs like underneath the retail standard, runs to the greenhouse. That one is the only one that, when I left that one open, it was blinking.
showing a flow.
Yeah, it was still blinking, and I think it was leaking like a gallon every like 3 minutes or something like that. That was the only one that I noticed, and that valve is the only one that feeds that. I mean, I know that the leak is on that line. And like you said, I don't understand how maybe the leak kept getting bigger either. I don't know if it's because of back pressure or
Well, look,
it was
I
just,
mean,
it's
looking
just
at
that
it,
stressed.
it does match your growing season, the increase, like, you know, because
There is a wave, yeah.
there is, but it never comes back down. You know, once you went up to 180,000.
It just kept getting progressively worse.
But it just stayed there. So, and then the growing season again, you know, you fill the greenhouse, you start
Yeah.
water stuff, it jumped up again a little bit, so, which is to be expected. So what you're saying is this increase from your normal, I don't know if I have the 2020 graph, yeah, we do. So your normal, even in 2020 though, you stayed constant from July, I know it was dry summer, all the way through December, it's the same amount. So we're thinking that maybe the second leak started in December, maybe who knows?
I mean, that could
Then
be a
you
possibility too.
fix, then you fix the leak stand.
Yeah.
Then
And you
start
see a
your
little
growing
drop
season,
there. Yeah.
Then you started your growing, but it hasn't come back down. So now we're saying the leak 2 days ago should bring this
Back down to zero.
180,000 a month down to whatever your nominal usage was, back to the
2019
20s,
probably,
2018.
2019.
2019.
We're looking at 2018, 78,000 normal gallons for that period.
I mean, is it possible the meter could malfunction a little bit too? Is that a possibility?
I haven't seen that. Those are all fairly good.
Yeah.
How do you know they're calibrated correctly?
They're calibrated by the factory.
Can those be checked also?
There's a process to check a meter.
Can we do that just to make sure?
It's usually a cost for that, yes, but we can look at that. if you'd like.
Well, the first thing I said, like tonight, I shut the water off like half hour ago. So you won't know until 4 hours that it'll say zero. So if that's the one line, when I shut that off from 6 o'clock to, I mean, I go turn it back on at 6 in the morning, water usage should be zero. Well, we saw other water going, but it should be minimal. You should see an increased drop, right?
We should, yeah. I mean, if you shut the leak
The
off,
leak off, yeah.
it should show the drop. Basically from July, say you compare July to July, right, over a year from 2021 to 2020, you're an increase of 70,000 gallons a month. So that's the leak that you're thinking.
Yeah, 150,000. This one's 88,000, right?
So if by repairing that leak, you see a drop drastically in May's usage, you know, it's going to be half of that because we're halfway through the month already. We fixed it, and you'll know that leak is fixed. Which getting the leak fixed is ultimately the most important part. And as far as the abatement goes, I mean, like we said, the water went through the meter. Obviously, if you know, we're not trying to charge you for water you're not using. If you genuinely didn't know it's there, the water department did their as far as they knew, did their due diligence in sending out the letters. So I think, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I think we should wait to see if that leak is fixed. And if that was the leak, then revisit the abatement and decide, what's the applicable amount.
You want to put like a week's worth of data on the paper before we then revisit?
I mean, I would even say you've already paid the bill, I would assume. So the bill's been paid. Wait a month, take a month or maybe even 2 months of data so you can see that the water usage has dropped off.
Well, now we're getting into the busy months with water, so I mean,
Yeah,
But
'cause
in
I've got
comparison,
two houses going with the drip irrigation, in it, but they're all on timers.
so some of the, like the tomato house goes on timers, they go on to like 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, and the other ones, they don't usually kick on until like 5 in the morning. So that's why, like I said, between like 10 and 5 or 4 in the morning, it should be pretty close to zero. It shouldn't be more than 10, 15 gallons maybe at the most. Misters are the only thing that kick on, they don't use anything.
But I think that ensuring that we are trying to abate, this isn't your word against ours or anything, but just, the data is the way that we have to follow it, just to see that leak was repaired.
You want to make sure the leak's fixed.
And that the leak was the extra usage. So if you can prove that, hey, we fixed this line, and then 1 month later, look how much our usage dropped. Even going into the season, you'll be able to see
Yeah.
comparable years. I think that's the best way to do it.
Because what is this? This is 2020, so this is 2021.
Yeah, if you had a break an inch and a half
Yeah.
line, I mean, you're losing a lot of water. That's
Well, that's why I don't know if it's a break or a pebble rubbed against it. And
with that kind of leakage, you should see a sinkhole like you did before,
that's
or
the
water
problem.
flowing out from underneath.
that's the problem. Nothing came up.
But if it's
Because when
under a
we found
slab,
it too, it was on the gravel sometime.
Oh, it's on the
and
gravel.
We found the break.
It's real sandy too.
so I mean, but
Well, when I found the
we
first
talked-
one, it was under the clay and the gravel from where the customers walk on. That just sunk in.
Uh-huh.
But
And then we
everything
had a
else,
cloth, and we have the leak cloth on top of the leak mat on top of it.
I mean, I even had Keith came out with the little poles and he showed me all the trenches and I dug up 3 trenches and there's no water anywhere. Like I just couldn't find it. So
So that's, I mean, if you found the leak, you fixed it by the end of May, or I would say even by the end of June, we can compare that, your actual usage to the last couple of years and see that it's consistent with the previous year's
of what it
usage
should be.
and that there was that leak, that major difference there. And that leak is what you would be abated for once we decide how much was leaking.
Because May of 20, like I said, May of 2018 was 48,000 and last year was 180,000.
Yeah,
So
so,
to fix the leak, May of this year should be like roughly maybe around 50,000,
but
right?
you had a leak in in April of 2018, that's where we think another leak may have started, but that was,
I think that's when the original leak started.
The
And then we
leak
had
they found
another,
was
we had,
April 2021.
yeah, we had another leak last year that I did fix.
that was that one. Okay.
That was that one.
So there is a substantial increase there.
That's why that one's 180,000, but the year before it, in 2020 is only 66,000. Because that's when the leak started and it spiked. Like I said, you don't have May yet,
No, we don't have enough data from.
but if you go based on, yeah. But if you're looking at April of last year, I mean, that was 100,000. So I'm assuming that probably should have only been like 30,000. And then, I mean, we're already up to 200. I mean, you're at 200,000
So that
for
that
last
difference,
month. That's
that would
insane.
be consistent with a large.
That's like 10 times more water usage than we should be using.
So by the end of May, by the end of June, we should see that
The difference.
drastic drop. And that, that's basically how the data will prove that the leak was present and repaired.
And the only reason I didn't fix it right away, like 2 weeks ago, is I said it's right through the middle of the retail space. It just disrupted everything. I'd have to tear all the benches out, everything. So what I did, I got 300 feet of line, and I went and got a trencher, and I trenched all the way around the greenhouse and all around. I mean, I laid a huge line down there, and I had to connect it back in. So that was the only way to fix it without disrupting everything.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you just can't shut down the water.
Yeah.
You know, and you're-
So I'm gonna do that in the fall. I'm gonna tear that whole, I'll just rip everything out of the ground, and then I'll know 100% for sure. But like I said, I'll shut the line off. Like, I guess that's all we can do, is put some data on the books.
I think that's the best way. I mean, we're talking a large sum. You know, it's not like, oh, yeah, I had an extra 150 gallons or $200 worth of water. usage.
Yeah.
You know, I want to make sure that we can, both sides can show that the leak was repaired and the leak was the reason for the extra usage.
Okay.
Can we get that monthly usage report for 10/1/17 through 4/1/18?
Yeah, I think that's,
10/1/17.
Yeah.
You want-
So the same period, 2017 into 18, the off season.
Well, this is by year, that's 2019.
Oh, so then 2017 and 2018.
It has 20, you can keep it, this
Because
is
ours is really hard to read.
2018. I don't, we don't have 2017,
No,
2018 was the first year we did month by month.
Yeah.
In this packet.
So can you pull up the 2017,
2017.
Please, if you don't mind?
Like I said, I don't mind paying for water I use either. I mean, I get it, but like, it's just a little bit, but I mean, it is a big
yeah, it's a big
number.
leak.
It's a big number.
It's a big usage if that's, and that's what I mean, with that, that increase is, you know, concurrent with a large line leaking.
Yeah.
Or having a large hole in a line like that, just because that size pipe can feed that leak.
Yeah, it's
fast,
chaff.
you know. But I think that's the best way is, I mean, I don't know what Dave has to say about it, but
Well, what I'm hearing from you, John, is you'd like to continue this and maybe table it for the next meeting. And then we can get the information on the leak, see if it's fixed. Is that what I'm understanding from you?
yeah, I'd like to table it until we have some more data and to see that it was repaired. I think that's,
Yeah, I would concur with that. I think not, giving an abatement for somewhat, for something we don't even know is fixed yet, is a little premature. So if I can get a motion to table it till the next meeting,
Is the next meeting enough
Per month.
information
when
or?
would it be
So
like?
this is
middle?
Next meeting would be the first week in
So-
June, which would be
4/1 million.
the second of June. It's only 2 weeks
That's
away.
how many gallons?
So,
I don't think the next
One
meeting, I
more,
think
right?
maybe the July meeting to give us a long enough.
For the year.
Data
or
period.
for this-
Well, how about, yeah, the 1st of July, that first meeting in July. Okay, you want to make a motion?
That was like 2 months.
No, it's 6 months. This
Yeah,
is the
6
In
months.
addition, before we make that motion,
Too many conversations.
Okay,
I would say that at the end of May, we pull that usage report, and we can send that to them as well, make sure that they're not using the same amount of water still, and that the leak is fixed. And if at the end of May, the usage is still substantial, maybe we have to go out and physically shut the valves off ourselves and help them find the leak if it's that substantial.
I have a cable puller, if you can, it's an 1.5 line, you said? Run the cable down through it, dig a hole in the tin, and you,
Yeah, it'll
More than
it'll
welcome to
split the
use it.
old line, pull a new line through it, so you don't have to.
you won't have
trench.
to dig up your floor or anything.
Oh, really? All right. When the time comes, it might be useful.
Yeah, so it'll,
Rather than have to dig up the asphalt.
as long as you can run the wire through it, it's like a steel cable, and it's just got a cutter on the end, and it'll split the pipe as it pulls a new line through.
Yeah, 'cause
Oh, so
we'll
you
be
can
done
still
with-
run an 1.5 through an 1.5?
We'll
Or
be done
maybe
with
an
that,
inch and a-
Yeah, well, yeah,
we'll be done with all that retail space the end of June
Pulls the
anyway,
cable
so we
with
can
it.
start getting all that. started
Because the
anyway.
line's only like 150 feet long. That's not even a big line. That's
I don't know how much cable I have. Usually it's only for going
20, 30 feet.
75 feet, like road crossings and stuff like that.
But even 75 feet of trenching through concrete will save you if you had to dig a spot.
Yeah,
pit.
Well,
especially
that's the thing, the
blacktop-
asphalt's only like
blacktop
60
part of it,
feet.
Yeah.
The rest is not.
You can dig. through that,
Yeah.
They work well, and you have a backhoe and
Yeah.
stuff, so you could,
You got enough strength to pull it, yeah.
But I think that's the best thing to do is make sure that table this until July meeting, see where our data is, make sure that was fixed, and then decide what the leak was, and then that's the fair amount to abate if Dave's agreeable.
Because like I said, I got 4 valves in the hole, it's right by the road, the big concrete box, and we did there, and I just turned them all off, and that was the only time to stop Lincoln, so I know what line it is. It's just a matter of, I just haven't done it. I'll take care of it. It'll be done tomorrow. The whole thing will be on that. Oh, that line will be completely off, and the new line will be going.
Okay, so
By tomorrow.
by the beginning of July, we should have some data that we can compare
Yeah.
relatively. accurate. Okay. So Dave, I'll make a motion to table this abatement until the July meeting.
Okay, I second that. All in favor?
John Kane, aye.
Dave Meswar, aye. And I guess we're gonna have to see you guys again in July.
All right, thank you very
All
much.
right.
Thank you for coming in.
When you send us the data, we'll get that, and pick that up or something.
We can pull it together by tomorrow or Monday. Okay. I'll get email or get some.
Yeah, I gave you my email. I'll send it in.
Is it on your application? Okay.
Calabrese.farms.
Okay,
Farms. Actually,
I'd like to move on now to the, I'm sorry.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
You guys.
Thank you, guys.
Have a good night.
Yeah, thank you.
I'd like to move on to the Congamon Road abatement. For 109 Congamon Road.
Well, they're not here, Dave. I can give you a brief synopsis of what happened. Chrissy, fill in the blanks if I'm missing anything. But there was, I think this was a rental property. This was the old Red Riding Hood Schoolhouse on the corner of Miller Road and Congamon Road. So
I
there's
mean,
a
the little red schoolhouse,
little
where the
bit-
trailer place was.
Yes, Travel Town Trailers, yes, it's changed hands a couple times, owned by Saunders now. So they have rental units on the top floor. There was a leak, started in sometime last winter. They got a couple postcards. They fixed the leak, at least they thought they fixed it anyways, but I think it reappeared, or maybe whatever they fixed didn't quite hold. So it leaked again, and they got another another postcard,
There was only two total postcards.
two total. So one per each leak. They got a second postcard, and they found that there was an outdoor faucet had frozen and broke again at the back of the property. So at that point, they took that faucet out of service entirely. So they're asking for an abatement of $73, which is 10,000 gallons of water.
Do you have any comments on this? John, do you have any comments?
I'm just looking at these graphs.
Oh, okay. Apologize.
I mean, I've kind of been under the thing where if they're not here to state their case, I would either just deny the abatement or table it and give them a chance to come and tell us their side of the story.
Did they say they didn't want to come, Chrissy, or they were?
It's a really busy time for Kurt, and he said he was not gonna be available.
Or Saunders, still in the phone rentals.
Oh, yeah, no.
How you guys doing?
Good. No owl today.
Yeah, technical difficulties, not quite sure. I tried different laptops, power cords, that kind of.
But we're still here. We're still meeting. We meet at work. 3 laptops. Yeah. I'll be over there in a little bit.
All right, well. Do you want to make a motion to table it? And see if they want to come in? Oh, you said they weren't interested in coming in?
He was busy. He said he wasn't gonna be able to make it because it's a busy
Okay.
time of the year with the boat,
Yeah,
boats in the water, and especially before this weekend with it being so hot.
yeah.
Well, I would say we could table it till next meeting, give them a chance to send a representative. And if not, then,
Then we can act on it.
yeah, we'll give them that chance and we can.
Chrissy, you know if the So it's all paper. So it's-
Yeah, I said he paid it. He came and got copies of the rest of his bills.
All right, do I hear a motion to table?
I'll make a motion to table this abatement until the June meeting.
I second. All in favor?
Okay, aye.
Dave Meswar, aye. All right. Appointments. Okay, I think we left off on the work order summary. I don't think it really needs any explanation.
we did skip that. There wasn't much, and we met 2 weeks ago. A couple
Okay.
turnarounds, couple new meters and a meter replacement.
Okay. Old business, the water moratorium.
Yeah, so we've had this moratorium in place for, I don't know, a year and a half now, maybe. And we've been talking about waiting until the water main project is complete and making sure we're getting the amount of water out of that pump station that we thought we would. So that job is now done, and Kevin's done some tests on that pumps. He's ran one pump, he's ran 2 pumps at a time, and everything seems to be where it should be. Kevin, what were the values again? You're in 1 and 2 pumps?
740, 95%, 740 gallons a minute with 1 pump. That's up from 584, I think. And 2 pumps were 2 pumps running at 100% were 1,989 gallons a minute.
I thought it was
Or
1,100.
1,189. Yeah, it was right under 1,200 gallons a minute where it was supposed to be.
Yep. So everything's looking pretty good.
Real good.
We're prior to the project, the residuals dropped very quickly in the pipeline. They're still dropping, but not quite as fast. So we've been able to run that every 2 or 3 days, right?
Every couple of days.
It'll probably ramp up once we get more usage in town, but for the time being, it's every couple of days. Before, we were running it every day just to keep the residual up in that pipeline. So I would recommend lifting the moratorium. There's really, we're pretty happy. I'm pretty happy with the available flow we can bring in the system. We could really feed the whole town off Jerry Drive if we had to most of the year, besides some maybe some peak days or the middle of summer. But we can run our.
You'd be yelling at me more for using it.
I'm not,
We don't want
not
to
saying
have
we
it.
should,
Don't use that.
but we could. That's why it's there, right? I mean, it's there as an emergency,
I had
right?
to say it.
But that's why it's there. It's supplement our use, and if our wells ever do go down, I'm pretty confident we could run. Normal days, we could run the town off that pump. That's the intent. So until we, at some point, this is a growing town, so there'll be more usage at some point. But right today, I think we're in good shape.
Well, there won't be any more use. We don't lift the moratorium.
All right.
Yeah, I know we've been talking about this for quite a while. And this has always been the marker to remove it, so I'd be good with lifting it.
Yeah, I think we've met the criteria that we have talked about for
Yeah.
years since we've been really pushing.
Definitely. Do I hear a motion?
I would make, the only issue I would have is if Ed would have an objection to it. I don't know if we want to wait till have.
I did speak to Ed a couple days ago, and when I thought he was going to chair the meeting, he didn't seem to have any concerns to me, but I don't want to speak for him either.
I mean, I would. I think if we're gonna do it, we should do it now. If we wait longer, just to do it anyway. I mean, if you and I agree that we should do it, then it's gonna happen.
Yeah, and I know based on the previous meetings that we discussed this, this was always the benchmark when this pump station was up to full capacity, that we would lift the moratorium. So I'm comfortable doing it. I don't think we're gonna cause any real issues.
I'll make a motion that we lift the, what was the wording that we used for this? New connection.
There was like a large water use.
A large water use connection moratorium.
Okay, I second that. All in favor?
John Kane, aye.
Dave Meswar, aye. All right, and one more is the water rates.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to talk about this today or wait till Ed shows up, but I can give you like a real quick breakdown of what I did after our last meeting. I had presented a couple of scenarios. In the last page of your packet, I updated that page with a total of 10 scenarios. So at the last meeting, there was some thoughts about maybe having different percent increases for the 3 tiers, tiers 1, 2, and 3. So I presented that in scenarios 4, 5, 6, and 7. And then scenarios 8, 9, and 10. I'm sorry. 8, 9, and 10. Changing the rate structure, the value, the volume per structure per rate. So rate, the tier 1 would be from, instead of 0 to 15,000 gallons, it was from 0 to 30,000 gallons. Tier 2 was 30 to 45,000 gallons, and tier 3 was 45,000 plus. So I went through those scenarios, projecting what the revenue would be for FY23 and comparing that to our expenses to see kind of where we stood.
Okay,
Would the minimum usage change from 15,000 to 30,000?
We tried to talk about that. I didn't factor that in, like break that in this in here, but if you go with scenarios 8, 9, or 10, talking about, you could make that change if you wanted to.
So I wouldn't want to make that, I wouldn't want to make that change if we did change the tiers, because there's a lot of people that use less than the minimum already. And if you now tell them, well, now you have to use another 15,000 to get.
Sure. Yep, very true. And just to maybe give some support for the keeping the tiers, 15,000 gallons is kind of the benchmark for a single family home. When you look at Mass DEP, what their recommended use is, for a single family, that equates to about 15,000 gallons in our rate system. So that's kind of like if you're being somewhat conservative water use, you're not using water for outdoor irrigation. That's kind of like what a typical single family house would be using, would be 15,000 gallons.
all right. Do we want to wait for Ed on this one? I think that would be I think this is a 3-man job.
Yeah, I think that would be wise to wait for all 3 of us to discuss because there's so many options, that we can move things around, maybe even to just look through.
Just to process it as well.
Yeah, and I take these with you. If you look at these and you think you want something else looked at, I can certainly do that, have that ready for the next meeting as well.
What if we did something like the 0 to 15 and then 15 to 45 and then 45 plus? So it opens up that middle range a little more, but we still keep our average household usage rate at that 15,000 gallon.
If we can do that.
And what kind of surplus are we looking for?
Well, right now we need to break even in FY23. So these numbers, most of these scenarios would break even. There's a couple that are negatives. So I probably should want to shy away from those. But also looking forward, we want to kind of build up that bank a little more.
I know a lot of towns are having an issue now where they have broke even, and now there's major infrastructure, that they just, rather than going and doing these, we can do these small increases rather than in 5 years from now, you have to double the rate, just to keep the water flowing. Kind of thing.
Yeah, my thought was if we could do something this year to break even, and then we can look at next year and do a little more. Maybe it's not the percentage we're talking here, but maybe it's a little smaller percent each year, so that you can start building up that bank.
Yeah, I think we should wait till next
Okay.
meeting with Ed, and if we can run the scenario with that third tier system. That's not a huge.
No, it's, I got it all set up now, so it's actually pretty easy to do. I can even do it here. If I might, it's on my computer, I can do it
Huh.
here. For different scenarios if you want. I'll make a note to add some more for the next meeting.
Motion table it.
Yeah, do I hear a motion to table it?
Motion to table the new rates until the next meeting.
Okay, I second. All in favor?
John Kane, aye.
Dave Meswar, aye. All right. Now we're down to new business. Any more matters to come before the commission?
Nothing on
Here.
my,
Have we heard any more about the ARPA projects? We're looking more into that.
so, I haven't heard anything from ARPA lately. I know the town's getting another contribution for ARPA, but the select board indicated that may go towards other uses. So the first round of ARPA, there was only water, sewer, broadband, were the three categories that were eligible. But the second round, there are more options out there.
Okay.
So,
Was any of it used?
yeah, so $600,000 was used for water.
Okay.
To pay for the water main upgrades that we just finished.
Okay, I thought we weren't able, yes, we were able to.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
definitely spent, 600,000. The town got about 1.4 million total in the round one, so 50% of that will come to the water department.
All right. Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I will make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I second. All in favor?
John Kane, aye.
Dave Meswar, aye.